We look at the foundation of why we are here today, which is to advance circularity by way of recovering secondary raw materials. And the first question that comes to my mind is, how are your projects implementing circular economy principles? And in what ways do your sectoral activities contribute to the EU's broader transition goals? So we can choose whoever wants to start first. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question, Abby. As already shown, our project, so I'm talking about ReBoat, is trying to create this new model for the valorization of in my case, textile waste, but also plastic and composite. And the idea is to follow the approach that is called and pretty known as eco-design, because you know it's mandatory from the European Commission to approach and to exploit the potential of the eco-design approach. In our idea, the product that we wanted to create by this valorization of waste have to follow this indication to be recyclable, to be made by recycled materials, have to be designed according to specific performance needs, to specific sustainability needs. And this is why in our project we wanted to involve designer, we want to involve artisan, we want to involve potential stakeholders that have this specific approach to a creation of products that follow these criteria for more sustainable designing, production, and of course we have also to think about the end of the second life, not only the first life, but we will create something that then will become again a waste. And so the idea is to approach this new production, even if in a very small scale, because as we've shown, we will work in a local scenario, in a very small scenario, but the idea is to demonstrate in an easier, we hope, scenario, because again it's small, the potential of this approach, of this eco-design approach, following the European requests, in order to demonstrate that it is feasible, it is doable. Also then we hope at an industrial scale.
Who would like to take the next answer?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I actually think that for our project, EcoRefibre, there are more than one strategy from the Commission that we are contributing to. So, of course, the environmental agenda, and I come to that in a moment, but there are also is also a contribution in terms of competitiveness, in terms also of, let's say, strategic autonomy, just to use some big words, because make a better use of your own resource, of course, improve the productivity, and that is a boost for competitiveness. But also, if we look at forecast for good availability in the next years, we will see that there will be a lot of competition for goods. So build an alternative route with more material will secure the stability of supplies, and is somewhat building resilience for Europe. Then, coming to the environmental part, of course, I think the project started in the right moment, because we are facing now multiple issues. One, of course, is the one highlighted by Duarte this morning, because we are going to face a growing amount of fiberboard waste in the future. But then there are also some market issues like the questions on recyclability of the material that already lead to decision from some actors in the market. And then we have upcoming regulations like ESPR and PPUR, so the packaging regulation that has a whole chapter on recyclability of materials, and ESPR for furniture coming in a couple of years that also has criteria on sustainability for materials. And just imagine what would happen if recyclability of this kind of boards would be challenged. No, so it's not only the reputation of the product at stake, and that could be a disaster if we don't tackle them now. But to come to the end of my answer, if we want to put a number on the contribution, let's say that the market for MDF in Europe is between 15 millions and 20 millions of tons a year. And if we succeed in getting 25% of recycled fiber into MDF, the contribution would be 4 to 5 million tons to the target of Ecomission.
Well, on wood to wood, I think that the contribution of circularity is mainly on the kind of value chain created. The value chain is risks to be a very large concept, but within the project we try to define, thanks to clear application, and we saw the case of facade application, how wood recovered can become something new. So this engagement of multiple stakeholders along the value chain, from the one managing the wood at the end of life, in the first life of the wood, moving through the sorting, the processing, the manufacturing, and the application of new products, this covers the whole value chain, and this I think represents the real value on for the project and for circularity.
Thank you. So as for BIO4EEB, we have this double goal, to increase the circularity and also to reduce the footprint and to be more sustainable in terms of solution for the renovation of buildings. So it's also aligned with the relevant directives like the EPBD that is demanding to make all our stock of buildings less energy demanding. And back to the circularity, it's different from the other project because we are not focusing on construction waste per se, but we are focusing on reusing materials that is coming from the nature that is usually very poorly recycled, like the posidonia, like the scrap of rice. And we also have, as Omar was saying, we are also focusing on thinking about that these products will become waste again. So it's not only a matter of developing new materials and to share information about the characteristics and make assessment about the LCA of the production process for these materials, but also when arriving to more structured products like window frames or facade components, to encourage a design that is looking at the possibility of dismantling, reusing again as much as possible, and if not possible to reuse, to recycle. But this approach is trying to be holistic and to extend to the whole life cycle, and that's also the ambition of the platform, to be maybe not during the project, but in the future able to connect with other tools to support the whole life cycle. And that's why we are also looking at what is emerging in terms of standards for the digital product passport and other solutions.
Yeah. So for CircuLess, of course, I want to repeat that of course we're adopting all the circular economy principles, but I would like to stay in some specific ones, so that were also discussed or pointed out this morning. So market uptake is quite is one of them, but what we need to quite much focus is the market also perception, customer perception. So this is something that is many of the times not taken for granted. And when we're talking about products that are developed through secondary raw materials, then how the market is going to adopt these is not straightforward. Yeah. The second thing is that we're really well taken care in CircuLess, especially for timber, is the lifetime of extending the lifetime of material resource. So it was also pointed out by the gents from Ireland. So timber is actually out of research a material that has to be used exactly the years that it took in order to, as a tree. So you have a tree that it took 100 years to become a tree. You need to use it for at least 100 years in order to spend its value. Okay? So this means that there is all this. If you look at all these timber structures in Scandinavia, at least where we live, is like all the construction is made from timber. It's 90% or 85% is timber based. Yeah. But all the waste comes from construction in terms of timber, and that has another value. It has another life, and this must be given to it. So what we're doing is CircuLess through this quality control and sorting and also processing technologies. The idea is to give another life to timber which really deserves it. And it's a material that most of the times, and still, it's quite clean. And but apparently, in those countries that they have a lot of timber, like Scandinavia, for example, the circularity has received very little attention. Whereas countries in the southern Europe, where there's a lot of timber scarcity, you see that in all the new timber products, they use recycled timber, about 80%. Okay? So there's a huge difference in Europe on how we do the timber, and we need to learn.